Welcome back for another video. There were lots of comments last week about Double Gameweek 37 free hit video, so here it is. Or if like me, you've already used the free hit, then if nothing else, it should be some good guidance on the best team this week in my opinion. What I will say is this team runs pretty close to most Gameweek 35 wildcards, so the takeaway is that free hit 37 is not the best strategy, unless you wildcarded much earlier in the season, because in essence the wildcards work like two chips. That said, the Gameweek 29 free hit went horribly for pretty much everyone this season. Despite that, I still think it's a viable strategy to free hit in a blank, and I'm going to try not to fall into the trap next season of writing a blank Gameweek free hit off, purely because of just how the 23-24 free hit went, where most of us barely scraped 20 points. I had a look out of curiosity at past seasons. In the 22-23 season, I used it in a double game week. The year before, I used it in a semi-blank, when lots of players were out last minute because of COVID. I remember having 7 players available, so I had no choice, albeit the free hit did get me to rank 1 that week, so I'll say it was worth it. I guess what I'm trying to say is no two seasons are the same. A chip strategy that worked one year doesn't guarantee success if you use the same strategy the next one, and being flexible is a key skill in FPL. Anyway, free hit ramble over, let's get into the team. In goal is Petrovic. I initially had Vicario, who's got Burnley home as his first double gaming fixture, but he does have City as the second. Burnley are fighting for their lives still, and Spurs are out of form with 4 losses on the bounce. Meanwhile, Chelsea are ending the season heading the opposite direction. They look to have turned the corner at last, and Europe's still on the table for Chelsea. They're away to Forest and Brighton for their double game week. Forest of course still fighting to avoid relegation themselves, and none of the double game week keepers are perfect this week. Ederson's the best of the bunch, but I've opted for outfield players from City instead, which seems logical on the free hit. It's a 3-4-3, in defence it's Burn, Vardy and Pedro Porro. Burn's got double game week against Brighton and then Man United. I really fancy Newcastle's chances against United, who are now without Maguire for the next 3 weeks as well. Evans could be their only fit centre-back. Newcastle have got 4 wins and a loss in their last 5, and they're in a patch of form themselves, and Bird's my preference among the Newcastle defence. If Trippier is declared fully fit, then he's worth a go, but he hasn't played since Gameweek 27. Hall and Livramento are options, but they're a little bit risky. Both can play in left back, Livramento can play right back as well, and his nailedness is going to depend on Trippier's availability, so Burn's the sensible pick. I've got very few regrets on the Gameweek 35 wildcard, but not getting Vardy was one of them. 2 goals and 2 assists in his last 4 games, including a penalty one just last match. He's registered 1.09 XGI over the last 4, which ranks 4th among all defenders. Unfortunately for Arsenal, City look unstoppable at the moment, but you never know. The alternative to Vardy is going triple attack, but there's too many great midfielders, so I think a defender, 1 midfielder and Haaland's perfectly fine. I mentioned Tottenham's dip in form, but at least with Porro there's attacking upside, plenty of routes to points, and Maddison's been benched the last couple of games, which has meant Porro's on corners and set pieces when he's off the pitch. More routes to points basically. Realistically speaking, City probably beat them, so this Burnley game's a crucial one in front of home fans, although he's staring down the barrel of no wins in 6 straight games. In midfield it's Son, Palmer, Foden and Gordon. Despite Salah's haul against Spurs, you've got to back the double game players on the free hit. I said in last week's videos that if you've got Salah, give him 1 more game rather than buy De Bruyne and then sell him. So if you're in that boat, well played. Now's the time to bring one of these guys. Son has dipped in form himself, which has probably contributed massively towards their run of losses, but he's still worth backing with 2 home games, on penalties, 202 points this season. Palmer gets the vice captaincy. If you've decided who you're captaining this week, let us know in the comments. I think it's quite close between him and Palmer for the best 2 picks this week. Palmer captain is a bit unlucky to only come away with 1 return in the 5-0 win over West Ham on the weekend. Out of interest, how much do you think Palmer will cost next season? I honestly wouldn't be surprised if he's 9 mil or even 10 mil. Another interesting decision is which one between Foden and De Bruyne to have on the free hit. Going for both is definitely fine, but it does mean losing Vardy for a worse defence, and you have to lose one of these midfielders or a forward. If you're happy enough with your rank, then go conservative with Foden, or if you're chasing, then De Bruyne's the no-brainer pick. Foden's 40% owned, De Bruyne's 18.7% owned. Who remembers De Bruyne's 30-pointer in the double game week near the end of the season a couple of years back? We've been blessed this season by some great enablers to make it easy to afford a great team. Palmer, who was 5 mil, and Gordon's another one who started at 5.5 mil. We know what an absolute force he and Newcastle are at St James's Park. Gordon's got 131 points in home games, only Palmer's got more of 137. 9 goals, 13 assists in home fixtures, and they're home to Brighton first, followed by an away game to Man United, who've got 1 clean sheet since Gameweek 24. The front 3 is Haaland, Isak and Jackson. If you are looking to squeeze De Bruyne in, I wouldn't lose any of the midfielders. I wouldn't lose Haaland or Isak, so it'd have to be Jackson and go over 3-5-2. He's got a double game week off the back of a 16-pointer against West Ham though. Or if you pair his last 2 games together as if they were a double game week, he'd have 22 points. We saw Nkunku back for Chelsea last match, coming off the bench. He replaced Mudryk though, not Jackson, which is promising. It seems much likely that they're going to play together rather than competing. This season, Nkunku's only started 1 game where Jackson was on the bench. Isak's in a similar boat. We saw Wilson back in the team last match, but Isak started as well. They're both likely to share minutes in Jackson and Nkunku though, but it is encouraging that they both started together. And given how well Isak's playing, I'd be surprised if he was benched, as they've got Europa League to play for still. They're trailing Spurs by 4 points in 6th place. He did take the penalty that Gordon won with Wilson on the pitch, but he missed it. He did score a few minutes later though, hopefully still on penalty duties despite the miss. And lastly, Haaland, who gets the armband. It's hard to overlook him for captaincy after scoring 4 goals for a 21-pointer last match. He looked angry after coming off despite having scored 4, clearly wanted 5. Last season, City were still in the Champions League, which affected his minutes. This season, the title race is going down to the wire and they're out of Europe, which makes it easier to predict his minutes. The bench is Onana, Fernandes, Romero and Dalot. Fernandes has got 2 home games, and no one's got more than his 46 points over the last 4 games, so is it a mistake to bench him? And in which case, who actually drops out of the team here? It'd have to be Jackson if anyone, for the same reason if buying De Bruyne, Jackson would have to miss out. You're unlikely to need anyone off the bench, but Onana's the bench keeper, and I've got Romero ahead of Dalot. He's looked very threatening in recent matches. I can't see Man United keeping clean sheets with so many defenders out. So that's the free hit guide. If you enjoyed the video, drop it a like and make sure you're subscribed. My bench boost is active this week. There's some great content to come later in the week. See you soon for the next one.